This conference will now be recorded.
Andrew Peitzker?
Yes.
All in favor?
Angela
Not present?
Yeah, Angela Erickson's not present.
All in favor?
Oh, yeah, so everyone's in favor. The resolution passes. All right, want to welcome Danelle as the administrator. So the first item on the agenda, and this might, if I'm out of order, I apologize. I'm going with what my PowerPoint presentation. First order of business is the sewer service area. I'm going to split that out by itself just to give you an update. We obviously been working directly with the DEP to get the sewer service area map approved. We made a lot of headway. We had a meeting with Mayor Burrell, the business administrator, the township engineer Corey Stoner, Sorin Araup from Mott McDonald, Andy Pitzker, and myself, and specifically to talk about the sewer service area map, what needs to get done. And what we did is we asked Corey Stoner to get on the township side to get more involved. He has a lot of county connections and can help expedite some of the things on a county level. So Corey agreed to do that, and we had a few questions. The major topics of discussion, what's missing, was there was a map that was distributed that was a little bit easier to understand. Sorin sent that out. I don't know if I sent it to everybody else, but that is a simplified map. It's really easy to read, and it really just tells where the current sewer service areas are and where the potential expansion may exist. So one of the items was a letter from the county. We had a letter about septic systems and possible failing of septic systems, a letter that was drafted in 2015 and 2016. I reached out to Jim McDonald, who's the head of the health department, and Sorin also followed up, asking if we can get a more recent, and the DEP asked for it too, a more recent letter stating the failure rate of any septics in the township of Vernon. So they responded. They're working on something, and they're gonna hopefully draft some kind of letter that we can provide to the DEP that will satisfy their needs. There was another issue about a nitrate dilution model analysis that was discussed at length. We're hoping that they're going to accept the dilution model that the county has already provided, specific for the township. They were also following up on that information and see if they can get the necessary information to satisfy the DEP's concerns. So I think overall, the discussions with the DEP and everyone seems to be all on the same, everyone's in the same direction. And I thought it was a very positive meeting. Sorin is definitely pointed in the right direction. Danelle's going to hopefully follow up with her to see, make sure she follows through with all the things that she has to do. And then Corey Stoner is also going to help us too. Andy, what was your perspective?
I mean, basically, I think I need to, I thought it was muted. Basically, when you got everybody together and you start talking about where we're going to head with this, it's definitely important that everybody's in a line and all the concerns are put on the table. So it was nice to hear that, there were different viewpoints and well balanced in making sure that issue comes into play. But having Corey as one of the set of eyes outside of it looking in I think is a benefit for us, but also looking at the history from the town side is making sure that we do the right things is what's very important. I think everybody was on the page with that, is making sure we do the right things here.
All right. And obviously everyone understands it's hard to move forward with any kind of expansion if you don't get that sewer service area map approved. I am confident it could happen by the fall. if we get all the information that we need to get to the DEP. We spoke to a few people at the commissioner level. That was very helpful to get things moving. I think the DEP is now motivated and moving in the right direction. And we're all kind of moving. And this has been going on for over 2 years. I mean, more than that. It's like 2.5 years. So we really need to move forward with getting that sewer service area map finalized. Did everybody get a copy of that map that Sarin sent out?
No.
No.
Colette or Danelle, I'm not sure if you got it.
I got it. I can send it to everybody.
Yeah,
Thank
can
you,
you
Colette.
share that?
Yeah,
Mayor Burrell asked for a more simplified map, which is easy to understand. And Sarin was able to take a couple layers off the map and send that to out. Colette's going to share that with everybody. That's an action item. But you need to see that because that gives you an overall picture of where things are going to go.
Mike, I think, Mike, one of the things that I really took away from this meeting that we have to make sure we do is to keep the pressure on, because otherwise things seem to just kind of peter off and not get taken care of with, like the DEP. Unless you continuously follow up with them, it just goes dead. And so it's going to have to be our job. And I saw that because documents that were started in 2016 may have to be updated again, as we discussed in that meeting with Sarin. So we have to make sure that everything is done, and why things can't be done simultaneously is a question sometimes. So that was a takeaway I did get from that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Howard thought the same thing.
Yeah.
I did reach out to the health department, and their response was a little bit like, when do you need it? And I said, well, now. So we need it as soon as possible. So if we can, draft that letter and give us some facts, that would be helpful. Anybody have any questions about that, the sewer service area map?
No, all I know is it's been going on since before I got appointed here. And it's like every now and then it just falls into a cold case file and nobody does anything on it. So
Yeah.
like everybody said here, we got to keep the pressure on.
Yeah, no, I agree. We got to try to connect Corey, Stoner, and Sarin, and make sure Sarin follows up with the DEP. We have to keep on following. And most likely, what we're going to do, we're going to invite Sarin to the next meeting. If anybody has an objection to that, 'cause I think we're at the point where she could probably help to update everybody to see where she is. Is everybody is okay with that?
Yep.
Yeah, something with it.
Yeah, so the next meeting, Colette or Danelle, if we could reach out to Sarin and invite her to the next meeting, I think I think it's important because they play a pretty big role in this whole thing.
sure, I can invite her, Mike.
Thanks. In terms of the asset management plan, the only remaining item, and we have authorized Sarin to move forward, is to do the assessment of the force mains. There's 2 force mains. There's one coming down from pump station 3 and the other one coming from pump station 2. The estimate to do that evaluation with a contractor and an engineer to oversee it is about $30,000. And that's going to get covered under the NJDEP asset management grant. And I don't know if Danelle can follow up with that. Is there anything, like we're approved to do it? It's a matter of Sarin's making the arrangements to do that evaluation.
Yes. And just to let you know how it works, because it's under the town's name, essentially what happens is that the MUA will pay the engineer and the township will reimburse the MUA, and the township's going to get reimbursed from the iBank.
And Danelle, just to confirm, is it up to 100,000 or was it 140,000?
It's up to 100,000 that we're approved for. The township the bond ordinance is for 140, but the iBank approved up to 100.
Oh, okay, that clarifies it for me. And I'm sorry, what's the total right now that we spent?
Ooh. I'd have to look up that exact number because I think we just had another one come through.
I think it's like 48,000.
Yes, it's around 48. I know it's above 40. I just did a PO on the town side to reimburse the MUA for it. I'd have to get the exact number.
All right, that's okay. So, is anybody any questions about that that force main evaluation? We're going to go ahead and proceed with that, and they're evaluating all the air relief valves and the integrity of the force mains to determine what to do, how to rehabilitate them, or how to address any kind of force main issues.
Mike,
Sooner the
one
better.
question, Mike, one question is, who do we need to schedule from the DPW to be there to make sure that we don't have any gaps in that area?
I think there was an email went out from Sarin to Jack and me. I think it went out today. I didn't share that with everybody. She was asking Jack for some questions that he knows something about the force main.
Okay.
I didn't read the specifics of it, but Danelle, if we could follow up with Jack and make sure. I don't know if you were copied on that, but Jack has to follow up with Sarin to make sure that goes forward. There's specific things that Jack has to do.
Exactly.
Okay.
She does need Jack's cooperation.
I think there might also be a benefit to Jack attending while they're doing the assessment. I guess, we do have to watch the hours, but he could receive some training more or less along the way as the assessment's being done, I believe.
Oh, I agree. I totally agree, Kristen. That's a good idea. And he is going to be there. He's a licensed operator record. He's going to be one overseeing what they're doing.
Gotcha.
I don't know I know Sarin has to put some specifications together for a contractor, so that has to come out. But I shared that technical memo. It was a 3-page memo to everybody that pretty much outlines what they're going to be doing.
Yeah.
If there's any questions, you could direct it right to Sarin or through me, and I'll ask her. All right. No other questions. And then hopefully after the assessment of the force mains, we can evaluate the asset management plan, finalize it, and that's going to help us with funding if we want to move forward with funding. That leads to pump station number 2 update, funding source, and RFQ. We discussed the last meeting. We were going to draft up an RFQ. Kristen, I'll turn that over to you. I know you drafted something. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, though.
Okay. Well, yeah, I drafted something and sent it out. So there's an RFQ in everybody's inbox. So it's in a request for, sorry, I'm working on a different computer. I'm trying to find what I sent out so that I can kind of run through it. But it's basically just a request for qualifications for wastewater professional engineering services to primarily assist with the design and permitting and construction for Pump Station 2. And there are some other items in the scope of services that, or some other scope items that may be requested of the engineer that's procured, along with a qualification statement. We're asking firms to provide a price proposal that would be a rate sheet for their staff rates and an organizational chart, of who are the staff that they're proposing. I think, Mike, you were looking for this. We wanted to have this this firm on board by September, and I'm not sure exactly how much time we need to review and discuss internally, but we'll decide, I guess, what dates to fill in there for due dates for the RFQ and so forth. So I think the idea expectation is that we would select this firm based on qualifications and cost, with a decision from the members of the MUA. And then we would work with that firm to negotiate scopes of work for the specific activities that we want them to perform. So it's basically a qualifications-based selection.
Did you, in that RFP, and I have to read it, I didn't read it yet. Did you ask for what the qualifications with the iBank and their experience with the iBank?
Yeah, I did.
Good. And it covered pump station 2, possible rehabilitation of the force main, and then expansion of the sewer service area, or sewer service expansion, possible.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
So
and also rehab of the force mains. So we're doing an assessment right now, and yeah, so then the rehab of the force mains.
So I think with anybody, well, obviously, does anybody have any other questions about what Kristen said? I haven't had a chance to review it. I think the best bet is to everyone review the document that Kristen has sent out, and then we'll make a decision at the next meeting. We'll table for the next meeting. I think that's reasonable. Everybody agree with that?
That's fine. I do have one question. Do we have a list of potential vendors we would send this to?
I can provide some engineering firm names, and then Danelle, would that be helpful if we just supplied you various names?
Sorry, my mic was on. Yes, that would be helpful, because when everything's finalized with the RFQ, we can send that out individually to them, so that they know that it's done. It should also obviously be posted.
Yeah.
And would you post that at the League of Municipalities, or what's the best way to post it?
Yeah, you can post on the League of Municipalities RFQs.
All right, so let's review that document, and then we'll make a decision. And if anybody input, we'll make a decision at the next meeting. I think that's the best way to do it.
So, Danelle, you bring up a good point, though. Is there any other processes we need to follow for the RFQ?
I would want to touch base again, and I did send some stuff over to Kristen, and so I want to review with the QPA, because usually our QPA handles the whole process for that. But an RFQ is pretty straightforward. I mean, I don't really have any concerns with what I've read so far. Start reading it. So
I included everything that was in his 2-pager, and then just added to it. So it might be in slightly different places in the document, but it's all there.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
I have one question before we move on.
Go ahead.
I have some friends in the wastewater business over in Pennsylvania. And the company that we, like, if they had an engineer company over there, would they have to have special licensing to work in New Jersey, or can somebody who works over in Pennsylvania come to New Jersey as well?
They'd have to be a New Jersey licensed PE.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
To add, I know there's jumping to the next item. Well, actually, let's go to the next item. On the feasibility committee update, I know there was talk about, Wind River showed up about the transfer station. I don't know if Paul or Steve, I'm not sure who can talk about that. Paul, were you at that meeting, the last meeting, or Dave?
No, I was not at the last meeting.
No,
Dave?
I was there, and Dave Bauer showed up, and they asked him some questions. And basically, the meeting was about the transfer station, and he was very interested, and he had some suggestions, and they talked finance, things of that nature, and he's willing to get involved.
Yeah, just to add on to that, there was a possibility that they want to finance the transfer station and do that. That's a positive.
That's absolutely, that's exactly what it is. Because somebody asked the question, well, who's going to pay for all this? And he goes, well, he says, we would get involved with it financially as far as financing it goes. So his company is willing to, you know, get rid, you know, take a risk.
Hey, Dave, what's the status of that committee in terms of like a final report? Can you report about that?
Well, yes, I can. This is nothing secret or anything like that. They're compiling a report for everybody to review, and it's probably going to be another week before we have a meeting. They'll let us know, and then of course it's got to be reviewed. And after we get the final copy, we'll have a public meeting, and the report will be given to the council at the public meeting, and that's the way it is. You know, we can just talk about what our findings were.
Good. So you expect one more meeting and then finalize the report? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what it seems like to me. Yep. And here, let me see what my last notes were. Got it right here. Basically, what it was is pump station 2. Yeah.
Mike, we're looking at your screen.
No, I know. I'm gonna call something up. Go ahead, Dave. I'm listening.
Okay. What they wanted to do was they had Dave came over. He's on board, and what they were talking about was what the town owned and what the town didn't own. And apparently, Dave Bauer's company was bought by Wind River, and he seems to be more comfortable working his own transfer station rather than having to deal with SCUMA.
Oh, good.
That, of course, that's in our benefit. That's to our benefit.
That's encouraging.
Good meeting.
All right, we'll keep us updated, Dave, on that on the
Yeah, sure.
on the file.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The biggest thing he was talking about is public, and everybody seemed to agree with it, myself included. Is the state is open to a public-private partnership. So you know, they mix the private industry with the public, and if the state is open to that, there's a better chance we have for grant money.
Good. That's good news.
Yeah, for sure. I liked it.
And then just to follow up, we're going to look into ordinance for pumping, septics, and then possibly offering some discounts to residents in order to pump their septics and encourage them to pump them on a more frequent basis. Once every 3 years or 4 years. That's going to be decided whether that's going to be necessary, but that's part of the transfer station. So I think it's a pretty good idea, and most likely it's going to be at the station too.
Mike, I think, as a matter of fact, what you're saying, before you came on board, they were discussing that and how to make the ordinance, whether you put the ordinance in a little at a time or make everybody do it all at once. Legal PACCON started with the people who live lakefront, had to clean their septic out so often, and that's where they started. Now, there was discussion going back that whether or not we should do it that way or we should just make the ordinance for everybody. that remains to be finished.
Right.
Discussion wise.
Does anybody have any other thoughts on that? On ordinance for pumping septics and transfer station? What's everyone's thought on it?
Well, a lot of towns have an ordinance, so it's not something that's new or we're coming up with. Especially in the lake communities, it's even more important. But obviously, you can't just single them out, so it has to be across the board to everyone. The only thing is how often, and I don't think it should be any less than 3 years. I mean, 3 years is like the starting point. It could be 3 years, 4 years. But, I don't want it to get ridiculous. We're like, oh, you got to do your septic every 2 years. It's just, that's a little overboard.
Right. And I can tell you this, in Lake Apacon, if they had taken care of some of those issues, they probably wouldn't have the hazardous algae blooms that they had. A lot of the source of nutrients comes from failing septic systems. And if they sewered the system if they pumped them more often and did something about the septic, Lake Apacon wouldn't have the problems they have. So they're directly related. Anybody else? Thanks a lot, Dave, for that. Approval. This slide is not approval of bills. Well, let's do the bills first. Does we obviously had a review of the bills. Did everybody? There's a package sent out by Danelle with the bills list. I'm trying to pull it up.
Mike, real quick. Mike, real quick on the agenda. We did have the township council liaison, but I wasn't sure if you wanted to discuss that or just move forward to the bills.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, let me go back there. Thank you. We discussed. Well, this is what I thought we discussed is having a liaison to the town council, and I'm certain, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we all agreed that we wanted a liaison from the council.
Correct. Sure.
And the follow-up that I think we need to do, and correct me if I'm wrong, is Danelle, if you can follow up with the town, and I'm assuming the town council would have to determine who that liaison is, and then vote on it, and then that person can join in the discussions at our MUA meetings. And we all seem to agree that it keeps us all and moving in the same direction with the council and the MUA, that's the ultimate goal. So does everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you could follow up with the town council president and see if they want to, make a decision on that, their next meeting, and then decide who's going to be, and then let us know who's going to be. We all seem to agree that we need them. It's an action item. If you could follow up on that, I appreciate it. Thanks for reminding me. Next, approval of bills. Did everybody have a chance to review the bills list?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Any questions about the bills list? Any discussion?
Other than what Paul brought up?
Yeah, we discussed that. I don't think we had to discuss that anymore, but
Okay.
any other particular item on that?
Yeah. I do have a question. When it comes to these retainers, especially for the bankruptcy, are we done with that now?
I do know. So I did reach out to our bankruptcy attorney, to Mo. He said he wasn't aware of any bills moving forward. Obviously, that's everything I believe is now settled with the county, so I don't foresee anything else coming forward. I know there is one bill that was, I believe, from back in February or January that we just got from them. They weren't emailing the people in finance the copies of the bills, so we were just missing that one straggler. So that will be on the next bills list in 2 weeks, but I think it might be like $2,000. and then we should be done. You know, I have an email from him saying that he doesn't anticipate anything after or anything moving forward. So,
Yeah,
but as
again,
far as the regular retainers, that's just for the bankruptcy. But you know, we do have a regular retainer for our attorney, Rich.
yeah, I know we have a regular one for him as well, and the question is whether we want to renegotiate that, or is that done for is that negotiation done for the year on that one? That is for the 2020 altogether. Because we're
Yeah,
not
that,
using
I mean,
we're not using him very effectively, in my opinion.
we have a contract
Okay,
with them.
okay. And I have nothing else to say about it.
Anybody else about the bills list? Do I hear a motion to approve the bills list?
I'll make the motion to approve the bills list.
That's Dave McDermott, and a second.
I'll second it.
Kristen seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nobody's opposed. Any abstentions? Anybody abstaining? Bills list has been approved. On to the minutes. I have a question. What date are we talking about here? I saw something for the executive session and the regular minutes from the last meeting of, what's the date on it? Help me out here.
The 21st.
21st, May 21st. I know there was, Kristen made some changes, and I know Colette updated that, and that was late today. Did everybody have a chance to review those minutes, or do you want to table those for the next meeting?
I saw them. They seem right.
Tom?
Yeah, so
I couldn't see the executive session minutes for some reason.
You read the regular, you saw the regular
I
ones.
saw
That's
the
what
yeah, I got the regular ones and I commented on those, but I didn't see the regular
I
executive.
can send the executive ones to you again, Kristen.
Thank you.
We just table it to the next meeting.
You want to table both those minutes for the next meeting then?
Yeah, might as well do them at the same time.
Yeah, let's table that to the next meeting. Is everyone in favor of that?
Works.
no problem.
Give us a, you know, and I know we're working on updating minutes, and we're making a big effort to do that. I don't know if Andy has an update on that, or Danelle. I don't know where we're at with updating older minutes. I know there's obviously been issues about older minutes, and we're trying to resolve that.
Yeah, so I spoke with Rich because it was my understanding from the few meetings I went to last summer when we didn't have an executive director. It was my understanding that he and his firm would be taking down the minutes and the notes. I know he's completed a few minutes that have happened during that time. We are missing a couple. We're also missing a couple from the late fall and winter of this year. And I don't know if we have recordings of those or notes. So we're not required to have a recording. We are required to have minutes. We are going to be written up in the audit for not having minutes. But that's something that we can address and take care of. I did send an email out to Rich asking, for some guidance on how we handle those meetings, and I'm kind of hoping he just has notes at least from those meetings if we do not have recordings. So at least we can take minutes based on those notes and all the actions that were made.
Now, to add to that, Danelle, is that he did forward the minutes from the February meeting, which I attended. So Mike should have those, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know Colette has been retrieved meeting minutes from the recordings, I think just from October of last year and maybe December. Correct me, Colette?
That's correct. Actually, I got the recording from the February 20th meeting that was recorded, and I'm transcribing them. it's over an hour. So I will have a draft circulated to everybody for their review and input probably early next week.
Well, you may want to take Rich's email. Maybe Mike, you could forward that to him, that Rich Leonard also did meeting minutes for that, and we basically paid for them. So you may want to combine the two of them together.
Actually, I did, and I've compared the two, and I'm
Aghast at what you see, I imagine. I know.
I've done a comparison of the two, and I'm expounding on his minutes. So there'll be a revised document that I'll circulate to everybody for their comments.
Great. Now, what I don't know when it comes to the looking at minutes and meetings, I don't know whether there was an actual meeting held in November of 2019 and everything I could find. Did you find anything?
No, I have not, but I'm still going through the records here. And I will update everybody if I do find it.
Okay, because I don't even see a recording for it, but or a document that there was a meeting held.
I don't
Yeah,
have.
I think that there's an agenda.
Yeah, there was an agenda, but there was an agenda for meetings that didn't even happen.
Yeah, I don't have any record in my notes of a November meeting. It's possible that I was absent, but I have no record of a November meeting at this time.
That's Kristen, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Paul or Dave McDermott, you were on the MUA back then. Was there a November meeting?
No, I don't know. I'd have to go through piles of paperwork to try to find something.
There was a November meeting which I missed because I was in Florida. But I know that because I contacted and said that I wouldn't be there.
If anybody who was on the MUA previous, Kristen, Dave, and Paul, if you could find something that there was a meeting, or if you have anything, just let Colette know, and then she'll follow up. We'll try to search down the recording to get the minutes. You know, we're making every effort. I want to be clear to everybody. We're making a real effort to bring on Colette and address all these minutes. If we realize that they don't exist, we're going to try to fix all these things and get these minutes out and correct the problem that existed. But I promise you, moving forward, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. It's really very important. So that's good.
So we'll table those minutes for the next meeting. Danelle, I apologize. Are there any resolutions?
No, just the one that you already did.
No resolutions. I talked about the pump station repair. That was done. A bill was submitted. I sent that into the township to get processed. That was done. There is a talk about getting a smaller generator for the lift station, because the lift station they have now, and I did talk to Jack about this, is a little bit large to be is not that mobile. They want to look into a mobile, smaller type mobile generator that's more effective to get into the lift station. He says it's very difficult to move that. They store the generator right now by the municipal building, and they need to get a smaller one. What's everybody's thought about pursuing and getting a smaller generator for the lift station?
Can you give me a wattage number when you say smaller?
You know, I don't know. Jack might know that. I really don't know the wattage.
Well, I'm thinking electrician would probably recommend need a 10,000 watt, a 7,500 watt. What are we trying to pull for power? Because maybe a 3,000 watt generator works. I don't know.
Yeah, all I know is there's transfer switches there. The transfer switches are there. I don't know what the power requirements. That's something we're going to have to pursue and look into. So I think what we should do, Nell, if we could direct Jack to get that information for the MUA and get it back to us, that would be helpful. So that's an action.
The other issue with the generators at the lift stations is to have a security box so that they don't walk if they're portable generators.
I believe that's why they're stored at the police station.
Okay.
That's the reason why they're there. They're parked right in the, I don't know what they call it now. They call it like an area where they store the generator.
Generator storage area.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. So that's where I got to go, right? When I'm a bad guy, right? Right. Safety review that has been out. We're gonna start making a list of things that have to be addressed. That's some follow up. We want to review that safety review and identify what. Again, that's something under the purview of Jack. I think that the licensed operator record has to read that. Jack did tell me he's addressing some of those items, the smaller items, but he's got to come up with a list of what needs to be repaired and how we're going to go about repairing these things. Because we do have to address these safety issues, which are pretty significant. So we're gonna follow up with that. So Danelle, if you could follow up with Jack and Colette, if you could do the same, follow up with them and try to get some feedback on what needs to be fixed. So if we give him a copy of the safety review, which I think he has, and then he has to review it and then start identifying things that have to be repaired.
Sure.
So
Mike, can you send me a copy? Do you have a copy of it? Because I don't think I have a copy of the safety review.
Oh, you know? Okay. There's 2 documents, and I'll send it to you. I'll make a note.
If you could send it.
Hey, Colette, do you have those 2 documents?
I don't think I do. The safety review, no. I'll double check, but I'm not sure if I do.
I'll make a note to send it to you both. I know everybody else on the committee got it, right?
I have it.
I have it.
All right.
Yes.
I'll send that out tomorrow. I'll send it to Colette and Danelle.
Now, one point when it comes to I think what's important here is after you get done looking at this is prioritizing the most important ones. I mean, there are easy fixes, but there's also some glaring ones here that are going to cost some money to fix that need to have a priority of how we're going to get them done, because those could hurt somebody really seriously when you look at them.
I agree. I think to answer that question, Andy, the railings are probably the most important one.
Yeah, I would say the railings are an important one. When you look at this checklist, there's, that's a significant one. The railings and the trip hazards that are where the working surfaces are the biggest ones.
Right. And we have to address those, even though, we have to take safety pretty serious. Now, I was told that POSHA was back. I find it hard to believe that POSHA came back and gave them a clean bill of record. So just to let everyone know this, the original POSHA review was ordered by I talked to the NJDEP inspector, Brian Sharrock, and that's SHARROCK. He's the one that called POSHA. He called POSHA on the safety violation. That was the DEP. So just keep that in mind. You want to follow up on that. We'll do some follow up on that, and then we'll report the next meeting.
Okay.
For comments, anybody want to make some comments? We'll start with Andy.
I think I'm good now. I think we got everything covered as far as the details there, but safety is a big concern here. And then we've talked about the bills, and going forward, I think we just need to pay closer attention. Danelle, one of the things I think I would like to see is more detail to back up the single line items when we get them. That would be important, I think, for all of us to be able to understand what the spend is.
So are you asking, you wanted to see like all of the invoices for each bill list?
I think going forward for a while, so that I think we are all better educated on what is being spent. I mean, it was really good that we're asking some questions here. Why is this spent here? Why is that spent there? So that people know that we're we're paying attention now, and this is also for the users that they know that we're spending their money wisely. But line items, I think just like you sent in that package, there was a lot of detail there, and Paul asked some really phenomenal questions regarding the spend. I don't know whether anybody else agrees with me, but it is a concern when we get into those things.
Sure.
Yeah,
I think.
Go ahead, Kristen.
Hi, Kristen.
Well, I thought that what was sent out for this meeting was great, was sufficient backup. Are you asking for more than that, Andy?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, that was sufficient backup, but that we don't normally see that when we see the bills list.
Yeah, because we've been operating, with lack of personnel. So, so yeah, this is what we need to see.
No, it's perfect. What we got was just, I'd like to see that again for at least the next few months till we get things under control. And then the next question, which I don't know whether we even ask any time, and I don't know whether it's appropriate. How are we to budget?
I'm sorry, to budget what?
I mean, we have a budget that we have to maintain for this. What is, how do we look compared to budget? Are we on track? Are we under budget? Are we over budget? I mean, we have spends here for, services and whatnot, so I don't know how it's affecting the budget.
Right. So what I can do is I think I sent out the financials. Was that the first meeting in May?
Yes,
I can send you the financials for the second meeting this month, so that you can see where we are, and I can get you the monthly financials. I can get you to those monthly. Just to let you know, I'm not allowed to spend over budget. So I can never be over that amount. I keep my eyes on those things so that if anything's going to come close to it, we are able to do transfers mid-year. That's different than what the town's allowed to do. The authority can transfer money around from line item to line item if necessary, to cover any issues.
If you have an eye on it and you can't overspend, I'm happy with that, unless anybody else has an objection. That's perfect.
Yeah, I'm not legally allowed to, and I've made it so the system doesn't let us.
Good, that's fine.
Kristen?
I could bring something, if I could answer a question from before. You were wondering if there was a November meeting, and I got my book of hand-taken notes here. And the October meeting was 10/24. It says I was in Florida for the November meeting, and then the next meeting I was at was December 19th. So we definitely had a November meeting.
Is that a yes, Dave? You did have a November meeting?
Yes, we did. Definitely.
Well, it was
there.
Again, it was scheduled, but you weren't there, and I did find the email. So I had replied to your email saying I wasn't going to be able to make it either. So there's two of us regular members that weren't able to be there. It was November 7th.
I'll have to look, but Mike, here's a quick question, Dave. If you have that information, do you save the paperwork? Because if you were at the December meeting, were November minutes handed out? Because I know there was a period of time after, in between recording secretaries, where like Rich Wenner would sit there and take the minutes, or and that could have been one of the meetings. I'm not sure.
I could take a look and see if I can find them. I mean, I took handwritten notes at the December meeting, but I don't know if I have anything from the November meeting or not. I'll definitely search.
I've got a banker's box and more of paper, and it's really not in order. Over the course of the weekend, I can look through it and see what I come up with. I'll look for the past name and see what I have.
Sounds good.
Thanks. Thanks, Paul.
The one other thing I wanted to get in there is we were talking about unattached or unhooked up properties, and this goes all the way back into September of 19, where we were discussing what properties were not hooked up. And at one of that meetings, we had made it was the last meeting we had as a group where a couple of people came in and complained that it was too expensive. We were supposed to have somebody send a registered letter to the people who weren't hooked up, that they had to hook up, and I just wondered if that ever got done. But that was before, I think it was maybe the night that Mike took over and John Perry was supposed to be there, but he quit. I think that's the night that it was. But at any rate, we should send some kind of correspondence to the people that aren't hooked up that are supposed to be.
Danelle, if you could follow up with, I don't know who those properties are. I know they were identified, but if you could somehow follow up with Sarin to find out what properties were actually, they may be paying sewer rates, but they're not physically connected. And I do know there was one, the old Board of Ed building. That was one. There've been others. And Sarin may have that information. Dave.
Yeah.
You all right, Dave?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Oh.
The one building is Green Realty. And the other building, oh God.
You don't know the other building?
I know there. Well, Faylene said that they said take a look at whatever, and it said Faylene and Green Team and the house next to the Exxon, and the house next to the Exxon station.
Hey, Dave, if you have that information, can you send out an email to the board members on who you think they are, and then we can follow up on them?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Anything else, Dave?
No, that's it for me.
Kristen?
I have no comments except that I think at least one person joined our meeting after we had an open to the public session, so you might want to consider reopening to the public.
I'll after any other comments, or I'm going to go to pool, and then I'll open it up to the public. Paul?
I don't have any comments other than that maybe in regard to that November minutes, if you could maybe try to touch base with John Perry and see if he has an answer if there was a meeting. I mean, we're saying David saying there was, but he wasn't there, and Kristen was saying he wasn't and it wasn't there, and I seem to recall that there were some that didn't happen. That I remember. And perhaps that's one of them. I really don't know. Like I said, I'll look through stuff, but John might, have quick access to these things.
I'll double check with John. I'll follow up with John Perry and see if he has something.
All right.
Hey, Kristen, anything else, Kristen?
No.
Anybody want to make a motion to open to the public again?
I'll make the motion.
Paul makes a motion to open to the public. A second?
I'll second it. Andy?
Andy Pitsker seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? No abstentions. If anybody from the public wants to speak, we'll allow anybody from the public to state your name and where you're from.
I would like to, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Kristen. Folks, I am a very patient person, and whether you may think so or not, I'm also very gracious. And I put in Oprah requests almost 2 months ago. I granted a 1-week extension, and that's a 2-week extension, and we're now going on 5 or 6 weeks. You may not realize this, and maybe you don't even care, but you are in violation of the Open Public Meetings Act, of the Open Public Records Act. Now, months and months ago, I could have filed complaints with the state, but I haven't. You are also in violation for not having your minutes posted on the township website. There's a law that says you have to. Now, I do appreciate that you're trying to gather them and get that right. I don't really understand why you didn't have them to begin with. This commission has not had proper and adequate minutes since I resigned as this commission's recording secretary. I don't understand that. You have a meeting, you take minutes. The very next morning, I always sent them to the town to be posted, and they were always posted, and there were never in years minutes not posted on the website, let alone not even have minutes. Now I'm hearing something tonight that I heard for the first time. Am I correct in hearing that it was the attorney that was going to put together the minutes?
For a particular month, I'm not sure. There were a few rare occasions where the attorney took the minutes down.
All right.
Yeah, it varied. It varied. In some cases, it was the attorney. In some cases, it was John Skirbo. Or in some cases, it was the chairman.
Which is why I asked for them to reach out to John Perry, because there were times he did take the minutes himself.
All right. Well, I could be wrong about this, but I believe you are required to have a secretary. And now you have one. Is that correct? Is Colette Borelli your secretary?
Yes. Colette Burrell is our recording secretary.
Thank you, Colette. But, you know, you're going to have to start getting it right, because you've been in violation of the law for way too long. And I won't even get into conducting business by email. At your last meeting, Mike, you said, I'll send it out and we'll do an e-vote. That is a blatant violation of the Open Public Meetings Act. Did you have that e-vote? Yes, no? Did you actually have that e-vote?
No.
Okay. All right. I mean, look, you know, I'm not trying to make trouble for you. I am saying you are in violation of the law in many ways, and that's a big concern. So hopefully, Mike, you have that Oprah coming any day now. You are earnestly going to work on correcting the situation with minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you.
All right.
Anybody else want to speak? I see no one else from the public wants to speak. Make a motion to close to the public.
I'll make a motion.
That David McDermott makes a motion and second. Anyone?
Second, Chris.
Kristen, second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Make a motion to close to the public. I mean, I'm sorry, close the meeting. Long night.
I'm
tired.
Close it.
All right, who made a motion to close the meeting?
Okay.
Dave, a second?
I second it.
I'll second.
Up, Andy Pittsburgh seconded it.
Second it, yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? See no opposition. I want to thank everybody for the meeting. Thanks for coming.
Have a good
And
night.
we'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you, Mike.
All right.
Thank you, Mike.
Good night.
Good night.